Kerrit podcast. Podcast, good song.
Yeah, this sounds like something carrots could grow to.
Crunch into us. What's up, Doc? What are we doing?
I don't know.
Fuck them. Crunch.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kerrit,
sorry, go ahead.
And I'm a part of the Kerrit podcast.
Yes, and I'm also Garrett, and I'm also a part of the Kerrit podcast.
Wow, what are you drinking, Garrett?
I'm drinking I'm drinking an Australian pale ale, mate.
Am I right?
Am I right? It seems to be that to me.
It is nice because I think we're getting more views on YouTube than we are listeners.
Oh, perfect. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch two dudes be stationary for an hour and converse about things that everyone talks about endlessly anyways? It's perfect.
I know. Yes, but so if you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe, and then you can get notified every time one of these episodes goes up. Hit the bell.
Like and subscribe. Smash that like button, guys.
Ugh, gross. I won't ever say that. But there's that. And then if you are on Anchor or Spotify, wherever you're listening, just subscribe, and you can see, you can hear our voices if you're just listening. So
yeah, and you can see the growth of both of our beards, as well as any haircuts or trimmings that come along with that. And I think that that's a huge factor. I haven't
trimmed mine since a couple weeks ago, beard, and then I haven't gotten a haircut at all. But I did just shower, so that's why it looks a little nicer.
I want to do that, and I was going to do that, and then instead I played Madden.
Electronic Arts.
I know, it is. Hey, great segue.
Are we going to get right into it now?
We don't have to. So how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Good. I found the Blu-ray version of Hobo with a Shotgun at Dollar Tree. So
I own that, actually.
Now, as do I, Munitia.
How much was it?
It was $1. It's Dollar Tree.
Nice. Mine was $2.97, I think.
That's fucking awful. That's like a 200% markup. Fuck that shit.
If you are watching, Kevin bought me a shirt of the James Bonds, and I'm wearing
nice. It. All right. Does it fit okay?
It fits perfect. It's my new favorite shirt.
Awesome. Dude, I gotta say, I don't know, you can cut this out because this is pretty personal. Oh, boy. But here's the thing about clothes, okay? When you go clothes shopping, you can't because there's a coronavirus. And so
what is coronavirus?
Yeah, have you heard of this? It's this thing. I'm not even trying to describe it. I guess if I were to describe it, I would call it like
cold.
It's a little more than that. It's something. It's almost like the flu. Yeah, but it's also apparently it's like a cousin to SARS. It's insanely contagious. It can kill you.
It kills.
Hundreds of thousands of deaths worldwide. It's something that began in Wuhan. It's been around for like 9 months now.
But I thought it went away. I feel like
I can see why you would say that, because it doesn't feel like it's affecting us at all. But I guess my understanding is like, if we all just wore masks, this thing would go away and we could stop talking about it. But it just won't. I don't know. It just won't happen.
It makes me think, what is that thing where if you leave in front of a baby, like you leave the sight of a baby, the baby now thinks that you don't exist? What is that?
I know what you're talking about. I know the game is like peekaboo.
It's peekaboo, and that's why they laugh, because they're like, oh shit, you're not gone. Peekaboo, you're here.
Where'd you go?
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh god, you scared the shit out of me. I saw you do this thing with your hands. I'm not sure,
but it's like object permanence. I think that's what it is.
Object permanence. I like it.
Do you think these people they have not even gotten out of that part of childhood, that they can't recognize that just because they're not dying or other people around them aren't being affected, that object permanence, other people are. It still exists outside of your realm.
I think that you may be onto something.
I think
I'd like to build upon this theory. This adult object permanence.
Put some shingles on this foundation. Let's fucking do it.
Shingles are on the windows? I mean, on the roof? I don't know why I said windows. I guess. Windows. Wait, what are those flappy things on the windows, though?
Blinds?
Shutters. So, hey, I'm just saying, mix a couple of letters around, and then we got a different word. And that is a song I made up, and you can copyright it and use it in your kindergarten classrooms. Just kidding, because let's be honest. School will get canceled immediately. Whatever.
So,
did you hear?
Build on this. And then you got to get back to clothes shopping, and then we got to get to...
and then we'll jump in. Okay. So here's the rest of my new theory, building off of, adult object permanence. Here we go. The theory goes, we just realized there have always been this amount of stupid people. There always will be. Mm-hmm. And now we know about it because of the internet.
Yep.
And that's it. And that's all. And there's no way to reach them ever. And we have to let them go. You know how Jack gives Rose the door, and then he lets her. He's like, "You gotta let me go," and she rips his fucking frozen hand off.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to rip the frozen grip of stupid people off of the door of America.
I mean, it's such a. I'm joking when I say this, but it's such a bummer that Hitler decided to kill all the people he decided to kill and not stupid people. I mean, I'm joking, obviously. I don't think they should be genocided, but holy fucking shit.
The thing is, there's always going to be someone stupid, even if they're from a well-meaning family, no matter what their
it's idiocracy.
Socioeconomic status is, or whatever, geography, the law of averages.
It's idiocracy. Stupid people keep having kids, and therefore they're not being... Whatever. We all know the arguments. It's just fucking insane to me.
So here's about clothes. So coronavirus, so it is a pandemic. It's, again, I guess I haven't had experience with it. I've heard the effects are awful. I've heard you can die. I've heard you can have limbs amputated, blood clots.
Really?
I gotta say, side note, I'm so sorry. I'm talking so much already for the beginning of this. I've been let's pretend Facebook is a real thing, right? And someone says on their status, I'm not concerned for myself because I'm relatively healthy, but I can see why other people are concerned. I feel like that's spreading the false idea that just because you're healthy and of a certain age range, that it's totally fine to get and you'll be fine to go through with it unencumbered.
The problem is this information is out there. We've been talking about it for how fucking long on this podcast alone. The information...
Months, literally months.
The information's out there. The biggest concern about this is that it lies dormant. You could have it and spread it to someone that could die. If you are willfully ignoring that information, you are as bad as a fucking murderer. That's what you are. You have no concern. It's psychopathy. Psychopathy. Thank you.
I made that up. I mean, it's a real word. I don't know. I don't think that's how it's pronounced.
From the same guy that says biopic for biopic. So.
Hey, I changed my views on that a long time ago.
That's good. I wish these idiots would change their views.
I know, right? It's called learning.
How dare.
Yeah.
So anyway, clothes shopping.
So clothes shopping, we all love to buy clothes, even those of us that pretend we don't like it. And look at Jack Reacher. In the books, he will literally throw away his clothes because they're dirty from 3 days of wearing them, and then he'll go into a store and just buy a new pair. And that's part of his character throughout all of the books.
That's fun.
So he's this super badass dude. He loves buying clothes, obviously. So the point here is it's really hard to buy clothes during a pandemic because I'm the type of person, and this means that there are more people out there this.
I'm sorry. If you're not watching, Kevin is holding a plastic knife, and he looks like William H. Macy and Edmund.
Oh, nice. You be Julia Stiles.
No, I swear to God. He just starts stabbing me.
It's not dangerous over the interwebs is the only thing. So I'm a person who likes to go to the store to try things on, and so that makes it difficult to shop during coronavirus. Even though you want to use retail therapy to take your mind off of the fact that everything is awful and this is the worst crisis that has been faced in our living lifetimes. In our lifetimes, I can just say lifetimes.
Yep.
Needless to say, I got that for you, and I was a little disappointed because the mock-up I saw is markedly different from what was delivered.
I mean, you can take it up with them and be like, hey,
I was
fuckers.
thinking about it, but do I want to be that person? I kind of do. I kind of do.
What's the company?
I don't want to name drop right now, if that's cool.
Oh, okay.
Just in case. I'm not trying to do anything, controversial.
I mean, I like it. I think it's a good weathered look, but it's like the only weathered part is their faces.
Right, and that's not what the mock-up looked like online.
You should send me that mock-up.
I will.
It's just so funny because they look like zombies, and I was like, is that what it was going for? I don't care. I mean, I still like it. My big fear is that I'll wash it, and then it's just no James Bonds. So it's like just a fucking casino table.
Well, it is intentionally... I mean, since it's intentional, I don't think it's going to, lessen the quality. It's not going to make it easier to get fucked up, I guess, is what I mean. Anyway, wow. Garrett has a James Bond shirt. I'm playing Madden. You know what that means.
James Bond, baby.
You do. Okay, you do.
James Bond, get video games part 2.
Part 3.
2.
2. James Bond video games part 2. James Bond as a franchise part 3/4.
No, we've been talking about this almost as long as coronavirus.
Perfect. Wow. And you say that you can't take an idea and turn it into a whole movie. It'll be the Friday 13K. Oh, I think that'll be like a 20-minute thing, right? No, I want a whole movie.
Well, so what? Your Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th.
It's amazing.
It's like the way that you're describing it is like following one character during. So it's just one character.
Well, he'd probably in the movie, he would be having his headphones in, and he'd be aware of do people listen to the news through their headphones? Is there an app that comes up if you're listening to Apple Music, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, Amber Alert, this person was murdered?
I don't know. I listen to NPR News, and every hour at the top of the hour, there's a new episode. It's like a 5-minute recap of the news going on. So you could do that, where it's like, hi.
There we go. So then NPR comes on, and it's Terry Gross, and she goes,
no.
Hello, this is Terry Gross. There is a man, and he is murdering people, and we will be speaking to him very soon. Thank you for listening.
Who plays Terry Gross? Clint Eastwood?
I was thinking more like who would? Cloris Leachman?
I just thought of her in Beer Fest slapping those sausages and just rubbing those like dicks.
Thank you for the clarification.
It's very funny.
Dicks. Thanks. I wasn't sure. So big sausages. Gotcha. Nice.
I love your idea for a sketch because it's hilarious. I think that's the big difference. Is it would be so hard to make a serious thing like
the joke. That's the joke, because it's what's the movie? I guess The Room is a bad example, but the only one that comes to my mind where it's a serious drama, but it is hilarious and poorly executed.
Yeah.
We would want to do something different where it's very well well, it doesn't have to be well executed. It can be the shittiest thing ever. It'd be hilarious. I don't care.
Hour and a half. Well, how long? I mean, he would have to come in first for the idea that Jason kills every other person, but that they don't stop. By the way, glad you didn't come up with this idea right after the Boston bombing, because that would not fly.
No,
that idea would have no legs. All right.
Yeah, you're right though. It really would not be able to run the gauntlet at the producer's table.
Wow. When did that happen? Is it
2013 or 12?
Okay.
Or 11?
I remember being in a bar with Wes watching that.
Which bar?
It was
Crooked Goose.
no, it was that's gone now.
It is gone now.
Fuck, what was it? It was
Now it's like San Marcos Tacos.
Mill Creek Tavern in Comstock Park.
Oh, now that's a place I'll name drop and say I hate. That place sucks.
They fucked you over, and I remember
it's
you.
Fine.
I
was a novice. That being said, I don't live in Michigan anymore, and I don't go out anymore anyways, so that's not happening anytime soon.
3 strikes and you're out. But we were there and we were watching it on the TV because they there's a bombing and we kept watching the footage and we were just laughing so hard at the guy that fell down. Like,
I don't know what footage you include it here in the YouTube stream, or is that?
I think I can. I might be able to find it, but it's not funny. But like, we didn't realize the severity of the situation, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just watching this guy that was like right at the finish line, but not by the explosion at all, just falling down. And it was very, I mean, well, if I can put the video in, we'll do it right now.
Very scary sight. Probably one of the most scary incidences that I've ever been involved with. It's very loud. The ground shook. You could just feel it going down through you.
And now. Oh, wait. Okay, so that means it has done.
It is done now. Yep.
Wow, that was awful. I can't believe you were laughing at that, you fucking asshole. Fuck you.
I'm being honest. I don't feel good about it.
Because you're being honest. That means you're just kind of at heart, little kind
Wes
of
can fucking
core.
No, I've changed, but at the same time, it was just funny watching a guy not like there were so many people next to it that I can't believe we're talking about. I just wanted to. I thought it was a funny thing.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking. Also, but
right. I'm getting sweaty. So hey, I don't have a fever. Corona.
That's scary. I was in at Western Michigan University's cafeteria when that happened. I was sitting writing, I think. I'm pretty sure I was writing, but I definitely was in the cafeteria. And then they have those giant tube TVs hanging on the wall like in high school because it was like 2011. They hadn't upgraded yet. And I was like, I think this is a thing right now. Like, I'm watching a thing happen right now. Yeah. This is so fucked up. And like students were gathering around. It wasn't a bunch. It was like 10, but it was because it was late at night. But it was still like, holy fuck, something is going on right now.
Yeah, it was like 4 o'clock maybe. But yeah, I just remember that.
Great. Well, that's great. That's
awful. That's why I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, that is why. Cool.
Anyway,
what were we talking about?
Video games, maybe?
Oh, we were talking about Friday the 13K. That's what it was.
Yes. Yep.
Which is, I mean, what we could do is have a twist, like a Final Destination 5 thing where it is the Boston bombing that it takes place during. So Jason has killed the main character, right? And it kind of, it's about to end, and you're just kind of like, well, this seems short, A.
And then Mark Wahlberg shows up.
See, what I was going to say is, like the explosions happen right at the end. Like the climax is happening and then explosions go off. So as an audience, you're like, wait, is there more? And it's like, yeah, there's a whole third act, motherfucker.
Wow.
It is Jason. He is investigating the bombings. Is going through like Patriots Day style. He's like J.K. Simmons in that movie or Kevin Bacon. It's been a while. I don't know who plays what, but he's like FBI now. And then he realizes it's like the DeJour brothers or however you pronounce their names. And then he goes and he murders them. And then everyone praises him. And he gets on Time Magazine, the cover, and it's like, in Jason We Trust, hard cut end, Jason will be back in Jason Kills Osama Bin Laden. Those events happened opposite in real life, but no one will care who watches this movie.
Wow. That is... I mean, you would be taking it into a completely different direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you would think. So, I mean, the first hour, it is like, this is ridiculous. Because Jason's running a marathon. He doesn't run, and yet somehow he is winning because he is killing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the whole time you're just like, these people are just running the whole time. There's nothing going on. And then there's just explosions like an hour in. And then you're like, what the fuck? And then Jason literally like is on a computer investigating. And you're like, what is going on?
I think you just made Friday the 13th a real movie.
Friday the 13th Jason investigates the Boston bombing.
No, because then you'd be blowing the third act. You can't do that in the title.
Friday the 13th we realize it feels like it ends after 50 minutes, but you'll see. There's an extra 35 still.
I would. You need a new marketing team. That is awful.
I can't do any better than that. That's perfect. Jesus.
Oh boy. Well, this was fun and dark. Totally joking. If anyone from Boston's listening, we're just fucking around. There's that.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. That's awful. That shit's fucking crazy.
I know.
It's terrible.
Next week, we're going to get the guy that fell down on the pod, so that'll be fun.
Absolutely. His name is Don. Oh, that's a bad name to use. Oh, I can't believe I went to that one.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Pretty mad Trump ruined the name Donald forever.
Yeah, it's like Adolf. No one's named Adolf anymore.
It's true. Donald is like one of those cool names where it's not cool, but the nickname Don is kind of cool, especially in a sort of like I'm gonna walk around and solve mysteries sort of way.
Yeah,
but not anymore. You can't do it.
Well, I mean, we should go back through history and just redact all the Donalds. Donald Duck. Now, what's his name?
David
Duck. That ain't bad.
I hate it. How about? Well, there's David from Hamilton.
David Diggs.
So we could call him David Duck. But that's I don't know if that would fly in the 30s is the only thing, you know?
Yeah. Let's get to our topic.
Because they'd be like, well, this is, this isn't white enough for us.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to have to be like Dylan or Derek. Not Derek. That's probably too much for them too. Even though they were going to name Mickey Mouse Mortimer. Let's move on.
Mortimer Mouse. Interesting.
I swear.
I hate that.
That's a thing. It's awful.
Ah, boy. Well, this is fun.
So, yes. Do we need an anchor ad, or are we gonna just?
We'll do that in a couple minutes. I mean, we're at about 22 minutes now, so.
Oh, perfect. That's the length of time for a movie before the second act starts. So.
Yeah. So we're in the first act of the pod still.
So Kerrit sent me a video. It was a YouTube documentary on all of the James Bond video games. And given there is a pandemic, as mentioned earlier, and in many other episodes, and literally the last 6 months.
I mean, the future episodes, too, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah, this will not discontinue for some time. Because of all of that, I was able to just watch this documentary, and I must say it was pretty interesting.
It was great.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing, too. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Mm-hmm. You guys can find it if you want to watch. It's kind of some of the stuff we've covered so far, but it's just you get to watch screen caps of the game and stuff like that. I think it's literally just if you type in YouTube history of James Bond games, it's like an hour and 18 minutes or something.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it's legit great.
I found myself at certain times going, how the fuck is this still an extra like 50 minutes? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't get, and not in a bad way necessarily. I'm just like, dude, GoldenEye is in like the middle of this. How is there that much more to cover?
There's a ton of games. It's pretty crazy. I mean, we've covered most, and we've got a couple more to go.
We do.
I got a stack.
I'm jealous. Where did we leave off? Because I do want to talk about these because, I mean, there's a couple things to address here. Mm-hmm. Because GoldenEye is the gold standard in first-person shooters.
Yep, and Bond games.
And Bond games, but also just, like, the technological advances at the time. I mean, just in general, it's really well done, creative, a lot of thought put into everything.
Well, we talked about GoldenEye, The World Is Not Enough on both platforms. Tomorrow Never Dies on PlayStation because it was only on PlayStation. 007 Racing, Agent Under Fire for PS2. Nightfire. We only talked about that on PS2 because I never played the other platforms, but there's it says in the documentary that there's a computer version that is just utter dog shit. Did you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the PS2 version is super good.
Well, they had a different company do it from scratch, basically. And it was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I have to say, something that the documentary highlights very well, and something that I will be talking about a little bit, or at least bringing up later, is every company that tried to make a Bond game pretty much post GoldenEye, more or less, aside from like The World Is Not Enough and Everything or Nothing, they just fucking dropped the ball so hard, and they had so many opportunities to do something with the property.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Is like every game, it's like it tries to be GoldenEye, but it doesn't capture that same magic. Like if it's a great gameplay, levels are great, the multiplayer is lacking, or if the multiplayer is great, the game is lacking. There's just something off about it every time. And Nightfire, one of the things we didn't talk about is that I had it on PS2. But that one's great because the multiplayer is so fun, and you can also bring bots into it.
Yes.
There's bots in Nightfire, yeah.
Yep. I actually didn't know that. I must say, I don't recall that. But
it's very like The World Is Not Enough. You can play with bots, and then, I don't know. I mean, I like that one, but they're so short. I think that's the problem with those games, is that it's like, you know, there's only 10 levels on Agent Under Fire, and it's a very short game. Nightfire has more levels. I think maybe it's 10 or 11. It might be 10 or 11. I can't remember. 12. But it's also like the levels are so long that it's like this isn't replay value, because it's like I like this part of the level, but I don't want to have to play the whole thing to play that part. Like that's the nice thing about GoldenEye, is that you have 20 missions, and they're all relatively pretty short. So you can pick you can play Facility, and the whole thing is fucking fun. You can play the runway, and it's fucking 30 seconds. It's so short.
That's what's interesting, is there are some levels that are like pretty long. There's some that are in the middle, and then there's some that are just like super short.
Yeah, like the Cradle is the last one in the actual GoldenEye kind of canon. Like that's the end of the movie. But then there's 2 levels after that. But GoldenEye is like... Cradle is, if you're on Agent, it's basically, it's very short, because you just go to different ends of the level that you're on, and it's pretty small. But then Double Agent is like a lot of you trying to survive getting shot at a ton. And it's like, I don't know, there's like some espionage stuff going on, and you have to meet, like, if different agent level tiers or whatever, you have different objectives. So, I don't know, it's very interesting.
Yeah. But it's not the same as what came next.
The next one that we're on is Everything or Nothing.
That's the one. Oh, that's on PS2? I thought that was only on GameCube for some reason.
Nope, PS2, baby.
Shut up. What? How did I not know this? I feel like I've missed out on a part of my childhood.
I don't know. There's an online element. You can play online, which I never did.
I didn't know online existed with PS2.
This is Electronic Arts. We have the likenesses of Shannon Elizabeth,
Heidi Klum,
Willem Dafoe, and Richard Kiel is in it. Maya, John Cleese, Judi Dench is M.
Remember when Maya was a big a thing? I don't know if she was a big deal. I don't know anything.
She sings the theme song in this.
Huh. Is it called You Won't Remember Anything? Instead of Nothing.
Everything or everything. No, that's not it. The mission for this one is fun. This is the prologue. Greetings, 007. We have a new mission for you that is of the greatest importance. The recent theft of Oxford University's highly classified prototype nano-robot project...
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
And disappearance of its overseer, Dr. Katya Nadanova, has...
I love Bond girl names. I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness.
Has caused chaos in the global intelligence community. This nanobot project was a humanitarian effort intended to facilitate the remote inspection and repair of hazardous nuclear containment facilities.
I love when people were optimistic even in 2003.
Dude, who wrote this? However, in the wrong hands, this technology could be used for entirely more sinister purposes. This is where you come in, Bond. Of course. You don't have to say that. We've already identified the rogue political faction responsible for the theft and tracked them to a secret facility in Egypt's Sahara Desert. Your mission, 007, is to destroy both the hardware and the facility. The fate of the world may very well rest once again on your success. Good luck, 007. So that's where you start. And you go to Egypt, Peru, New Orleans, Moscow. And this one is like so it's not based on a movie, and it came out in 2004.
Son of a diddly.
So it came out before we had Daniel Craig as
only 2 years before, which is interesting.
Yeah, as the new Bond. They were going to do Die Another Day, but then they decided it's way past that time anyway, and it wasn't even well received, so let's not do that. And it's the last one, and this is before Pierce Brosnan left, so they still had his likeness. He signed on for it. So it's basically like Pierce Brosnan's last Bond movie. Right. And it takes what Die Another Day did with like technology and stuff, because you heard about the nanotech and the nanobots or whatever.
Oh man, I have so many things to say about that.
It makes it like believable, but it's also, and I think there's an invisible car in this one too. So
okay, he turns invisible too, I believe, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And it's this fun, like, I don't know. It's as stupid as Die Another Day, but it's a video game, so it's explainable. It's excusable. Right, I will say that, and then multiplayer is dog shit on this one. It's fucking utterly pointless. You're in one single room, and then you can like hit traps and then kill somebody that's on like a lower level or whatever. So it's like 2 levels. But it's like
Smash Brothers almost, but shittier.
It is
much shittier.
Yeah, it's much shittier because it's a James Bond multiplayer, and it's trash. So that's like everything else in the game was fun, interactive. You got driving missions, you got just espionage kind of stuff. You have to be secretive and stealthy. You have the third-person shooter game mechanics, like it's Tomorrow Never Dies. It's very similar to that, but it's way better. Graphics are good, story's interesting. Multiplayer is trash. So, yeah, I mean, it's like we had such a good opportunity, and then you fucking...
At least the gameplay is pretty solid, though, and I mean, from what I recall.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing with these games. It's like everything is just you're dropping the ball somehow, you know. Right. And GoldenEye, they did multiplayer in the last, like it was a last second decision, and it's still fucking classic.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I do want to do a side note here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was watching Spectre last night. And, first of all, I watched Quantum. Quantum is something that I would like to talk about as well. I think this is all going to tie in eventually, so I don't want to get too into it. I want to talk about the games first.
Okay.
But you're talking about nanotechnology, and that shows up in Spectre when he gets the smart blood, which is able to track him throughout anywhere.
Yep.
And it's so weird to me because the movie, when you're watching it, it tries to have its cake and eat it too, where it's like, we're a classic campy James Bond movie. Also pretty serious though, getting into James Bond's backstory. What's up? Just like Skyfall, remember, guys? Cool.
Yep.
And hey, by the way, we're goofy enough to have smart blood, so you know that it's all chill, bro. Cool.
It's such a dumb movie.
It's not good. No.
It's funny because someone that listens to this, she reached out and said, love your podcast. And then we talked about it a little bit, but she said that we talked about 2 movies. It was Spectre, and then there's another one that we talked about that she liked. I can't remember.
Of the Bond movies?
No, it wasn't a Bond movie. The other one was, I can't remember. Let me see. She's great, by the way, but it's just like, people's opinions are different, and
right, like maybe the coronavirus doesn't exist. Maybe all of these people that are dying, it's a giant hoax.
Oh,
Wait, go ahead.
New Star Wars, that's what it was.
Ooh, Rise of
I know.
Skywalker.
I know.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. I can't even. I'm going to talk at this voice the rest of the fucking episode because holy shit, I'm fucking surprised.
That's fucking awful.
But I think it's just because it's like they're movies that if you shut your brain off and don't analyze, then they're fine. But that's the thing with you and me, and with me with Mike, is, I mean, he can shut his brain off. He likes Fast and Furious. But it's like, I like to analyze film, and I don't, I think very hard about them. And I think that might be my problem when it comes to big, like maybe the Eon Productions is making such shit films because it's like, well, one will give it a good so everyone can enjoy, and then one it'll just be for the fucking money.
Well, it's just weird because
Make them all good, god damn it.
I mean, you're right there. You got Daniel Craig. You've established a new tone. You've established a different Bond. You had one that kind of mixed in both elements of like the new and the old. And then for the next one, they're like, let's do that again, but everything's up to 11. And it's just
well, I mean, I
didn't do it right.
I was talking to Jackie about this, and I said it on here before, like literally every other Bond movie, they dial it up to 11.
Then
like
you just keep it at a steady, like 8. Just keep it, like, right there.
But, like, I mean, starting after Goldfinger, I think that's where it really happened. Like, Thunderball is so over the top and boring, and You Only Live Twice is over the top and, like, fun, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then On Her Majesty's Secret Service, they're like, all right, let's bring it back to basics. We got a new Bond here. And then they get Sean Connery back, and they're like, fucking up to 11 again. And I hate Diamonds Are Forever. I hate it.
I do like that one. I did recently rewatch it, as I believe I noted earlier. But, man, an earlier episode, I mean.
Yeah. And then Live and Let Die, back to basics. We got a new Bond again.
Still
Man with a Golden
movie.
Gun, up to 11, everybody. And you're like, why?
Spy
Who Loved Me
is like up to 11, kind of.
But it's back to basics. It's espionage. It's, thriller kind of thing. It's
I can agree with that. I mean, it has like the huge set pieces at the end, but it's not like trying to be as outwardly goofy as like having a fucking slide whistle as a fucking barrel roll is performed.
Yeah. And then after that, Moonraker, up to 11, baby. For Your Eyes Only, all right, back to basics. Octopussy, up to 11. And then there wasn't one because, well, I mean,
I'm like, well,
there was one, but then it's like,
so
if you
mad at him, you're to a kill. You're like, that doesn't exist, motherfuckers.
if you factor in Never Say Never Again, this theory still works because Never Say Never Again is back to basics. We have a new Bond, right? It's not Eon Productions. I understand.
Right.
Speaking of Eon, everyone thinks that it stands for Everything or Nothing, which is this game, and that's why they named the game that, but it doesn't stand for that. Anyway.
Yeah, it stands for Extremely
Orgasmic Neutrons. Extremely orgasmic nanobots.
Well, the neutrons, that's how neutron bombs are detonated. They're just all banging each other so hard.
Jimmy Neutron.
Like a bunch of molecular pornography things going on. It's just like, oh my.
If you factor in Never Say Never Again, then it's every other again. And then A View to a Kill, up to 11. The Living Daylights, back to basics. We got a new Bond. Let's reel it in. License to Kill, up to 11. Even though I love License to Kill. That's so good it went to a new rating group. PG-13. Yeah. Then, back to basics. GoldenEye. Tomorrow Never Dies, up to 11. World Is Not Enough, back to basics again. Die Another Day, up to 11. Casino Royale.
Up to 13.
I know. Casino Royale, back to basics. Quantum of Solace, Writer's Strike, Skyfall, dial it back to basics. Spectre, up to 11. It's literally every other fucking movie. If you look at all of the Bond movies, it's
if you
weird
include
as
the
shit.
Writer's Strike also as being kind of a reset point.
Yeah. Yep.
I do want to talk about that too, dude. I just can't believe. So I do have to say, I find more enjoyment watching Spectre than Rise of Skywalker because Spectre. There are so many Bond movies that you kind of get a sense of how am I going to like this in like a few years.
Yeah.
And so in that way, Spectre is like a Roger Moore Bond movie. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, and that's not what I was looking for at the time. Based on the other movies, and even now it's not really what I'm looking for, but I've kind of come to terms with it a little bit more and just be like, hey, it's a Bond movie, I'm gonna watch it. But Rise of Skywalker is fucking horrendous. It is fucking horrendous.
At least Spectre tries to play with these threads that you're given, and it extends these threads. Like, at least I will give it this. Knowing what we know about the courtroom drama that happened, about them finally getting Spectre and everything, they're like, we got to finally shoehorn it, and I blame Kevin McClory for all that bullshit, which we've talked about before. But
totally.
The fact that because of that court, they finally got it, and they're like, okay, how do we shoehorn Blofeld in? How do we give fan service? Because the fans want to hear him say he's Blofeld, like all this shit. Let's do all these things. If you give it that, and then the way that they explain it away is like he's pulling all the threads, at least they tried to make it make sense and use what they had instead of throwing it all out the fucking window with everything that was laid and then pulling a Rise of Skywalker and just being like, new shit, new shit, new shit, new shit. And you're like, there was no indication that Palpatine could even fucking come back. This is so stupid. Yeah. And they don't even explain it.
Well,
hate it.
I agree. I completely agree with you. I think that's a good. It's totally. It's a good theory you have. I don't know if it's not really a theory. It's a good observation you have.
I mean, I give him credit at least for making the movie make sense. There's no point in that movie where you're just like, this does not make any sense. This would not happen. Versus this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I get what they're doing and why they did it. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is dumb. But
right. Right. The one thing about Spectre that I have noticed is it seems like it almost maybe it's like even with Casino Royale, but it's like the one time where Daniel Craig it feels like he loves playing that role in that
Inspector?
movie. I know it sounds weird because in the interviews afterwards, he's like talking about how he would never do it again and he doesn't want to do it. It's grueling and it's too physical and blah, blah, blah.
But he said that after Skyfall, too.
Exactly. And that's why I don't really hold it against him. The reason that it just seems to pop off in Spectre is because to me, it seems like they're giving him more scenes to kind of play the Bond role, but then he gets to filter it through his acting style where he's kind of like, he's like a tough guy, but also sarcastic.
He is type. It's so interesting because I feel like Spectre is the most Bond movie. You know what I mean?
Like, totally agree with that for sure.
And it's so corny with the things that are in it. It's so dumb, but at the same time, it feels so Bond. It's weird, and it makes you think like, have I been gaslit the whole time by the Bond franchise? Has it always just been this?
I think so. I really think that that's what they set out to accomplish. And then certain times like Casino Royale and to an extent Skyfall, and Quantum of Solace actually is where all of a sudden they're doing something totally different and you're like, oh shit, is this the Bond franchise evolving? That's cool.
Well, the problem with these fucking dumb fanboys is that every time a gritty Bond movie comes out, they're just like, oh, it's like Bourne. And you're like, oh my fucking God, you idiot. Like, was GoldenEye...
say that?
Oh yeah. Was GoldenEye like Bourne because it came out in the fucking 90s and it was harder? Was that like Bourne, or was it... Like, I don't know what you guys are expecting, because anytime that there's like this, espionage type thing. How many times have I said espionage on this fucking pod?
Like 13.
But like all those things, like Bond is supposed to be a smart investigator or whatever, and it's like I like when he's able to do that. And what you guys want is not that. It's so odd. Anyway.
That being said, though, and again, we will get back to the video games, but I did just watch Quantum again for the first time in a while.
Let's talk about that when we talk about Quantum the game.
That sounds good.
Because we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back. Oh.
Set me up.
Hit it out of the park.
That's not a fucking nautical term, but anchors away! The baseball hit the anchor and it ricocheted back into the mitt of the shortstop. Oh my God. I got these Cuban sandwich chips. I'm not really a chip guy, but they were $1.70 at Aldi. And I was like, man.
That's what you said when you saw them.
I was like, this is going to happen, I think. I think it's going to happen.
Are they good?
You know what?
Yeah, just chew right into that microphone for the listeners.
So you like food, right?
Is this another ad?
Oh, but what?
Baseball's coming back.
But they're pretty good for being Cuban sandwich flavored. Do you think
Oh,
that'd
yeah.
be gross? Because, like, chips, you know.
Well, maybe we'll have a future episode about flavors of things or something.
We should. A quick side note. Tried Pringles, cheeseburger flavored. Not the worst thing ever. Kind of also the worst thing ever at the same time. Very weird. Very weird.
It's just weird to be eating a food and be like, I'd rather have the food that it's supposed to taste like.
That's the issue. Is like, I mean, if I'm going to eat some salty snack, I don't know if I want it to taste like a fucking burger.
I want it to taste like a chip while I eat a burger.
What's the big deal?
What's the deal with that?
And Lay's is out there like, there's a pandemic. It's hard to manufacture right now.
Dude, all these pandemic commercials. Do you have the quarantine blues? Shut the fuck up.
Like, fuck you, you fucking... I mean, this began, like, months ago, where I'm on YouTube and Walmart's like, thank you, you're the real hero. Like, thank you. And it's like, you're so transparent in your attempts to appeal to people. And there's so many stupid people out there that it's totally, you're going to get away with it.
How about the case where the guy stabbed someone when he was told to wear a mask? He got shot,
fair,
I'm pretty sure. I think that's the same story. He stabbed someone and then ran into his car and then got pursued and then got shot by the cops.
And he died, right?
Yeah, I think that's the same story because the guy was holding a knife or scissors or something.
I don't know. I feel bad because, he's just defending his right to not wear a mask.
He's defending his right to murder people, Kevin.
Yeah, and... Well, what's the problem? I mean, we're writing a movie about this called Friday the 13K, and Jason at the beginning is an anti-masker, even though he wears a hockey mask because he doesn't want to wear a mask over his mask.
His last lines in the movie are "Thank God my mask had holes."
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, it's perfect, and we can see him like he's walking around the supermarket just like killing. He's like, you got to wear like an actual mask, buddy. And he's like, like I don't speak, but fuck you. Like, here's my machete.
Let's get back to games.
Yes,
this is fun. So we've covered Everything or Nothing.
Yep.
And the next game that came out, you remember this one? GoldenEye Rogue Agent.
So.
What do you think?
In the documentary, the guy criticized this, and I remember loving this game. Mm-hmm. Did you? Or am I having a false memory here?
I loved this game. I didn't know the plot of it. I assumed when I played it that it was just a fun extra thing because it had come out the same year as Everything or Nothing. So it's like another, and it's EA Games. It's the same fucking year. So it's like they were working on both at the same time. So to me, this was just like a little extra. But apparently the plot of it is it's an alternate timeline that takes place right after the events of Goldfinger, I guess, or before or something like that, where James Bond dies in the raid on Fort Knox, and then Dr. No's in it, even though he died in Dr. No. And then Goldfinger is in it, and he died in Goldfinger, but so James Bond dies, and then there's another 00 that has a golden eye because of an operation or something, and it makes him able to have some fucking weird shit.
He can like see through walls, and it gives him like extra armor for some reason.
Yes, it's all that stuff, and then it so it's not a sequel to GoldenEye, has nothing to do with it, but he has a golden eye. And that's why it's called GoldenEye Rogue Agent. But he's not a rogue agent though. Like he's fighting Goldfinger and
I thought he was a bad guy, isn't he? Like somehow
that is it. He works for Goldfinger. Yeah.
I don't know if he turns against him eventually. But...
I don't know. I can't remember. I do know that Oddjob's in it, Pussy Galore is in it, and Fight alongside and against legendary villains such as Goldfinger, Oddjob, Pussy Galore, and Dr. No. Upgrade your synthetic eye to see through walls, manipulate electronics, deflect bullets, or send enemies flying. That's cool. It's a fun little extra thing, and multiplayer on this is super fun. You get to alternate weapons, so you can be holding one weapon in one hand and then another weapon in the other hand. Guns are fun. It feels like GoldenEye, kind of, because it's a first-person shooter as well.
For sure. And there were some criticisms in the documentary which I really didn't agree with, at least based on my memory of the game.
Yeah. What were they?
I mean, an easy one is the multiplayer, and they're talking about how Halo had come out at the same time.
It feels like Halo.
Right. Halo is like rippling out and kind of becoming the new norm instead of like something like GoldenEye a few years earlier. And this is what I really want to talk about when we talk about the next couple games too, is how the Bond games lose their identity at this time because they are trying to chase the success of a different franchise.
For sure.
And that's, so we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll see, especially in the next couple.
Well, that one, Rogue Agent feels, the plot is paper thin. I mean, the plot is shit. It's an alternate, it's just, for me, as a bonus game, right? Like, it's not even called 007. There's no 007 thing on here because there's no James Bond in the game. So technically, it doesn't have to have a James Bond identity. It's just a shooter game in that universe where you're playing a different person.
Right, and they 100% made it just to be able to steal the name GoldenEye.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the association. And I mean, the tagline of the game is, why save the world when you can rule it? So it's a bonus little thing. You're not Bond. I mean, I wouldn't even pick it apart for that. It's just, and it's still, it has replay ability. You know, I can put that on Play It Again. So
I don't really know why people don't like it based on the title also. Like, sometimes, and I'm sure there are other examples where a title is like stolen basically to use it in a product, to sell it. But like, sometimes I'm okay with it just because it acknowledges that the other product existed. So like GoldenEye Rogue Agent comes out, I'm like, I don't care, it has nothing to do with GoldenEye. They're acknowledging it and they're trying to do something
different,
totally different by using the same name. Like, let's do it, bro. I don't care.
It's a shooter game in the world of James Bond. I don't understand. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, you have already gotten a great game this year and the multiplayer on this one is better. So why don't you play both and shut the fuck up? You know? There's
why we can't have nice things.
It really is. It's sad because it's a fun little who gives a shit game. It's and it doesn't. I would say that it has the identity of a Halo type thing, but you're also getting a first-person shooter again, and you're welcome for that. So,
plus he tosses the shotgun in the air to reload it. And it's a cool animation.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I would play that one again.
But let's move on, because you were playing Quantum of Solace.
Not yet. We still have one more PlayStation game.
Oh, yeah. I remember that guy.
From Russia with Love.
I remember liking that one. I feel like in the documentary, again, that guy did not like it. And I'm like, I mean, I feel like it's so easy to shit on things. That game also reminds me of 24, the game. If you remember that.
I had chickenpox, and I beat the shit out of 24, the game. I own that.
Did you torture the shit out of it? Because that's what it's known for. The show is known for that.
I did. I got to die as Jack Bauer. This is the first. I will say this: it's so interesting to have like characters. Did I say it for the people listening at home? From Russia with Love. That's the game, and this came out. This came out 2005. Because we still. I guess they were. I don't know what Electronic Arts was doing. It's so interesting.
They didn't know either.
And I think this is another example
of them. They still don't.
Yeah. Well, this is when they started going downhill, and I would say it happened with GoldenEye Rogue Agent, because they were in such a up in the air turmoil thing where they had a couple great ones in a row. They had Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, and they had Everything or Nothing. And it's like, these are 3 solid games. Great job, you guys. And then GoldenEye Rogue Agent, if that's the one that follows it, and if you didn't take those criticisms too much to heart, you could have taken a first-person shooter and done a new Bond game and just hired a guy or made a face randomly like you did with Agent Under Fire. That's not Pierce Brosnan, you know?
Right.
So you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? And then instead, they went with it From Russia With Love. They actually got Sean Connery to play himself. So
which is like one of his last acting roles, too.
Yeah. His 80-year-old... That's one of the critiques about the game, is that it's an 80-year-old Connery talking as like a 30-year-old face. And
is it that bad, though?
It's fucking weird.
It is.
Oh, sure. Pushy galore. Oh, it's very strange. So if
I
you
talk
don't,
like an 80-year-old man, though.
If you don't know the plot, no, you don't. If you don't know the
listen
plot,
to me. Hey, Garrett, how are you doing?
Oh wow, are you 80?
How'd you know, dude? God, I know I talk like I'm 80, but I'm fucking not. God.
This one
Dick.
has multiplayer, which is very fun. You and I have played it. This one has jetpacks and vehicles you can drive around in multiplayer, and fun levels. It expounds on From Russia With Love to add more gameplay in there, so you're not just watching him talk to people, you're shooting and stuff like that. The let's see, there's gadgets and stuff like that. It's basically the plot of From Russia With Love, the Bond movie, but it lengthens it into more stuff. And the gameplay is the same as Tomorrow Never Dies and Everything or Nothing, where it's a third-person shooter, and I think it's fine. It's not my favorite. I don't think it has a lot of replay value, because it's weird to be going through the events of a game when video games weren't even invented yet, you know?
I mean, I actually think it's a pretty novel idea.
Yeah.
Because
it is.
You know, if you're not having success doing the other ones you're doing, or, you know, you're trying to turn the things on its head with GoldenEye Rogue Agent, doesn't really work. You're trying to adapt movies directly, Tomorrow Never Dies doesn't really work. World's Not Enough isn't too bad, but it still isn't like the same as GoldenEye. So they go backwards and they try From Russia With Love. I think it could work. I think it would work better with like The Spy Who Loved Me, or I don't even know, like You Only Live Twice. I guess. I mean, you can do it out of any of them. I think it's a great idea. I guess I just don't know. They haven't tried it again anytime recently, so it's hard to kind of gauge that.
Yeah, I mean, the last Bond movie that came out was in 2015. Bond game that came out.
Oh, Bond game. I don't know that one. That's like 2011.
2012, I think, because the end... Bless you, Corona.
Excuse me, it wasn't Corona. Remember, that's a hoax. That doesn't happen.
There's gadgets in this that didn't exist in the movie. There's the Q-copter, where you can control it with probably your phone. I don't know. It's
like stuff that is anachronistic? Anachronism. It's an anachronism.
Yeah. Like things that wouldn't have existed then. But it's like, it's a gadget, so I guess technically you can excuse it away, but...
Right. Stuff like that I don't really care about, though, I must say. I mean, it is a video game.
Did you play this one? Do you remember?
We played it together once, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure
I feel like we played the levels, though.
I think we played multiplayer, because we both were trying to kill each other, and we both had, like, the cars and shit like that we were driving around. I
do remember specifically... I don't know if you were there, but like he's in a giant hall with like multiple levels, like two. I think it's like 2 levels, and he has a bunch of tables in the middle of this giant, great hall.
Oh yeah, that's in that game.
Yeah, I don't have any other descriptions for that. That's what it was.
It's not exciting. I think that's one of the big qualms with it. It's just you're kind of walking through and doing these things, and it's not very exciting. And I think I have the same criticisms for the next game. It's fine. I would say the multiplayer is better than the game itself, because it's almost like this thing where you're like, this isn't exciting. I'm not having fun. I would rather just watch the movie.
Right. Yeah. But the one thing about games I've noticed is the fact that it is a Bond game or a game based on a franchise I enjoy is enough for me to just more or less enjoy it most of the time. Like, I saw gameplay from the ones that we're about to talk about, which are like for the next gen well, they're not next gen anymore, but I still have a 360, as I've mentioned in the show.
I do too.
And like, I would play those just because, oh, cool, it's Daniel Craig as Bond. I don't care if it's based off of like a Call of Duty engine and it's the same thing more or less as those games, but worse.
Wait until you hear my review of playing it.
Let's do it.
I didn't own these next games. This is the last one we're going to talk about on this episode because we're already at an hour.
Damn.
So I didn't own it until last week. I bought Quantum of Solace on Xbox 360. If you look, that is how cheap it was, $2.99.
Jelly. You can sell it online for like $40.
Maybe. But
25.
It's interesting because
it's not worth it at that point. It's like an extra like $18. Sorry, go ahead.
It's all right. It's interesting because the graphics are good, but this also came out on PlayStation 2, designed by a different company, and it's also Activision. So this is a swap from Electronic Arts to Activision. Now they have the what's the contract?
Right.
Activision had the contract, and they made Quantum of Solace, and this came out in 2008. So it was the same year as Quantum of Solace. The
movie.
And what they were planning on doing was doing Casino Royale, and then it became too late because the movie had already happened. So then they're like, well, let's just do Quantum because that's the new one that's out. Oh, wait, we can do Casino Royale as well. So the beginning of the game is Quantum. The middle of the game is Casino Royale because it's like a flashback. Yeah, and then like Camille says something to the effect of, "You've probably lost a lot of people along the way," and he's like, "Sure have." And then it like goes back to the events of Casino Royale. You play through that. I haven't finished because this game fucking sucks, dude. And then the end of it is like Quantum again, and it's
is it that bad?
It's trash. This game is fucking trash.
I would totally want to play it.
It's so trash. But it's interesting because this one is first-person shooter, and then the PlayStation 2 version is third-person shooter. So it's similar to the From Russia with Love and the Everything or Nothing and Tomorrow Never Dies, where you're watching Bond. It's third-person.
I feel like third-person would work better for those games, to be completely honest.
Totally does, because those games implemented something called cover, where you can take cover around an object and then
and that's a huge thing these days.
It is a huge thing, but it doesn't fucking work in first-person because you're in first person and then you shift to third person in the cover thing and then you shift back to it's so fucking dumb. And it's like they put GoldenEye Rogue Agent together with From Russia with Love. So it's multi-level of letdown. And then it also doesn't have auto aim. So you're just kind of firing blindly and there's no like tracking it's making it harder and less fun. The mechanics of the game are just utter shit. Like, you can get into cover, and then to get out, you have to, like, jiggle the fucking direction pad and kind of maneuver your way out. It's not easy mechanics. You get stuck on shit. It'll have, like, a thing where it's like, you get to vault over this, but only some of these things, and it's just confusing. It's not an expansive world, so you're only able to do, like, this thing. There's no other things you can pick up, like interesting extra weapons. It's not fun. It's pointless.
But is it fun because it's a Bond game and you can be like, "Hey, I'm Daniel Craig"?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't even add to it. You don't. It's so dumb, dude. I mean, I felt angry playing this game because it was. There's also a thing like. It's a Bond game, so they add stuff, right? So it's like expands, and one of the things is you have to like take everybody out stealthily.
The bar?
No, stealthily in this level where in the movie he famously goes through the kitchen and has to go undetected and doesn't kill anybody to meet up and then listen to these people that are trying to like
Great movie.
Great scene of the movie. And then this is like, you have to take out all these guards stealthily. And if you don't do it stealthily, doesn't fucking matter. Then you just start shooting. But it's not fun to shoot people because of all the things I just listed.
But it's fun because in games is where you can vent your frustrations so you don't accidentally shoot people in real life. Although that does happen still. I know video games cause violence. I'm not here to argue that. But it is, it gives at least some form of an outlet. So there's hope.
No, not with this game. This game, Quantum of Solace, for the Xbox 360, I have not played the PlayStation 2 version. It is trash. It is trash. Glad I still own it, though.
I think that this really speaks to the cash-in. I kind of mentioned this with you a little earlier. Yeah. I don't think we were on the show. But just like every once in a while, especially when I was younger, when I would like look at video games more often, and especially when it was a 360, a game would come out, like Game of Thrones would have an Xbox game, and you're like, no shit, like what? How the fuck? Or Star Trek with the new cast, and you're like, okay, like what's going on here? And there are plenty more, but they're terrible. They're just quick cash grabs. There's no real reason to own them beyond the fact that they are based off of something you like, and there's might be helpful, but.
There's Enter the Matrix. There's
but that was well made, right? I mean,
never played it.
That was like that's in the style of Peter Jackson's King Kong, where it was like a hefty creative process, and it was kind of like signed off on by the directors. So yeah, I mean there are some success stories.
There's Jaws Unleashed. There's the Thing.
Awful. Yes, that's true.
The Thing game.
That got good reviews. So there's
I've watched some gameplay of it. It looks fun. There's all 3 Spider-Man games for
Spider-Man 2 especially is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. But it's so interesting where some are great and then some are just trash, and it's such a weird thing where it's like this new company got this game, Activision, and they just squandered it. And they use the Call of Duty engine. But it's like it doesn't have an identity of a Bond game.
That is what I wanted to talk to you about, and I guess we will have to wait till the next episode. But
no, you can get this out, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, because it gets into Bloodstone a little bit for the next one.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that you have a franchise, and instead of assigning any real labor to it, you're just like, oh, you know what? Let's just use like Call of Duty, the engine. So we just have to reprogram what people look like in the environments, basically, and it's the same thing.
And the
that's
plot
not what
we
a
already
Bond
have.
movie is.
The plot we already have because it's the movies. Yeah.
So like him just like shooting people constantly and running around like these maps and just murdering people. Like it's I get it if you're a layman and that's what your idea of Bond is, and that is more or less what happens in GoldenEye. But, things were obviously less sophisticated then, too, and that became, like, the norm.
Yeah.
So it's just weird that you would fucking take a James Bond and you're just like, oh, LOL, Call of Duty. Like, that's it. That's the amount of work we're doing on this assholes. Jesus.
We'll talk about Bloodstone next week, but that is what you said is 100% Quantum of Solace. It is shit. It is. There's no fucking identity. It's not fun in this. I didn't even finish it. I probably won't finish it.
That's too bad. I want to know what happens to Vesper. That's my thing.
She dies.
What? I haven't played it yet. I haven't played it through all the way. Damn. Fuck.
Spoiler for anyone that hasn't seen a movie from 2006. 2005.
2006.
Came out 6.
14 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, and he's still Bond. That's what's crazy. Technically, he is.
The longest tenure of Bond.
Yeah.
Daniel
It's awesome.
Craig.
It's awesome. The one thing I would also talk about in the next episodes is, I love Daniel Craig as Bond, but he got fucked over so hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so strange because he has 5 movies to his name, so you'd think with more content, the less he'd get fucked over.
Nope.
But because of the writer's strike, and then because of MGM going bankrupt, and then because
coronavirus.
well, I don't know what happened between Skyfall and the shittiest one, Spectre, it was only 3 years, so it's not like
Well, no, because between Skyfall and Spectre, they were deliberating in court with Blofeld.
Oh, that's what it was. So it's it's marred by outside factors impacting like the development of everything, like the storyline and the production and all that stuff. So he goes from like this young 30s Bond, like the youngest Bond in franchise, and the first two released 2 years apart. And then all of a sudden,
He's
4
50.
years goes by. Yeah, and it's just enough to be like, oh, he's in his 40s now. He's like on the wrong side of everything. He has 3 movies come out during the old
prime.
Like he has 5 movies. 3 of them are literally talking about his age the whole time. It's great.
I don't know.
Among other things.
I mean, we've barely touched on Daniel Craig's movies when we were talking about this, but I think that'll be a good jumping off point next week. We'll finish up the games next week, and if you guys have played these games, reach out to us.
Finish off the games.
What do you think about these games? Let us know. And then
let us know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe and smash that like button, and smash that comment clicking button, and make sure to. Well, sorry, go ahead.
Ring the bell for notifications.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's on YouTube. You ring the bell for notifications.
That's great. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his or her wings, or its wings. I don't know if angels have genders.
I don't either.
I don't think they can reproduce. I mean, I thought that they were portrayed as humans with wings in the Bible to make it easier to understand the conceptually abstract idea.
I would
they're really
think they're just not real.
They're like spirits. They're like, yeah. Oh, that too. That could be. But they are in the Bible, though, so it's hard to know. No. And we did have that teacher in 5th grade who talked about seeing an angel and being lucky enough to see an angel, and he had a 10-foot sword.
Who was that?
That's a real story. In 5th grade, I had a substitute teacher who was talking about how she knows the Lord exists because she saw an angel herself, and the angel had a 10-foot sword. And I remember sitting there thinking, even as a 5th grader, like, why would an angel have a sword?
It makes no sense.
And why is it 10 feet? That's long.
That's a huge dick.
You're trying to murder people if you have a 10-foot sword. You're not trying to defend yourself. You're trying to line people up and make it easier to get all of their heads in one fell swoop.
It doesn't make any sense. Why it's not real. Like, she's wrong. That's a hallucination. That's not true.
So maybe that's. I wonder if she believes in masks these days.
You know for a fact she doesn't, because her angel is there to help her.
Yeah, he's there with his 10-foot sword to cut everyone's germs off of them.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, this has been fun. We'll come back next week, and why don't we'll end on this note. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I was going to try and sing a note, like an note. But I thought that would be like it wouldn't be funny.
Go watch Hamilton.
I am not throwing away my shot.
I cried during that.
So did I.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.